When I became a dad and I started looking around at fatherhood more closely, I looked at somebody like Steve Jobs. I'm like, he's super successful at what, right? He's an utter failure as a father, a total failure as a man, quite honestly. Amazing entrepreneur.
How did becoming a father change you as a person or change your outlook in life?
Having a child all of a sudden makes you aware of your own childhood in ways that, man, you never remembered. You start analyzing everything your parents did, and then you're like scratching your head. What were they crazy? It's it's a whole new firmware upgrade, right? That you just and all of a sudden you get all this new data, and you're like, say what? You're like, and then you start learning about your individual relationship to the world, your impact, how people have impacted you, what changes you're now going to make. I'm sure you experience the same. Oh, that's not what I'm going to do with my child. Oh, and I'm definitely doing this with my child. It really has a wonderful impact. I think for a man, it's so interesting in ways that it's not for a woman because we're just two completely different animals. And I watch my wife go through some of the same, and we merged ideas, and you start collaborating on your past, and you're like, do you know, did you know what my mother did that one day? Like, that's, we're never doing that. And then but then you always invent something new to do to your children. My wife says every person is a product of a traumatic childhood. There's some trauma in everybody's childhood just growing up. If you think about it, it's true. So I think about this often and certain desires that I have for what I want, how I want my children to perceive me, how I know it's important for them to see somebody who just makes it happen, to give them that control over the world for their own observation. They can look and say, oh, look, this is what daddy did. That means we can do that. Those are ways that it's changed me. And I can only say it's, you have children, you think, oh, life is great, man. After children, you're like, what was I doing? Who was I? Like, you're just not anybody. You're just like a consuming narcissist in my mind. I know that's not fair, but I look at back, I'm like, all that time wasted on people and events, and I could have just had something much more meaningful. I ended up retracting from life outside and focusing on my family because that becomes my personal priority. Like everything I want to, that's my job. Like, what is my other primary job in life? That is the job. That's why we're here.